Hi, everybody. Okay, so we're on our second part of Socks by Beverly Cleary. Well, not second part, but our second reading. All right. So when we left off, George and Debbie were trying to figure out what they were going to do with all these kittens if nobody bought them. And Debbie was holding Socks and putting him back in the box of kittens. Mark them down, I guess. Dad said to give them away if we had to. The boy borrowed a felt-tip pen from a checker in the market, and while Socks peered over the edge of the carton, crossed out the 25 cents on his sign and wrote 20 cents above it. Kittens for sale! Debbie's voice sounded encouraging as she hid Socks under two of his litter mates. He promptly wiggled out. On a day like this, his own fur was warm enough. Why do you keep hiding Socks? George tried to look as if he just happened to be standing there by the mailbox and had nothing to do with kittens. Because he's the best kitten, and I want to keep him, said Debbie. Dad won't let you, her brother reminded her. He says the house is getting to smell like cats. Socks found himself plucked from the litter and cradled in the girl's arms. Well, at least we can find a good home for him. Debbie was admitting the truth of her brother's statement. I don't want just anybody to take Socks. You don't see a line of people forming to buy kittens, do you? Asked George. To pass the time, he had read the headlines of the newspapers in the rack, and the label on the mailbox was starting in on the signs posted in the windows of the market. Socks tried to climb Debbie's t-shirt, but she held him back while she watched the faces of shoppers for signs of interest. Once a man approached, but he only wanted to drop a letter in the mailbox. A woman paused long enough to look at each kitten and then say, No, I can't bear to think of anything as warm and furry as a kitten on such a hot day. Children entering the market with their parents begged to be allowed to buy a kitten. Just one, please, please, with their very own money. But no one actually bought a kitten. I guess it just isn't kitten weather, said Debbie. Socks struggled to free himself from the heat of the girl's sweaty arms. Be good, Socks, said Debbie. We're trying to find you a nice home. Fat chance. George had finished reading the signs in the window and was even more bored. Special prices on ground beef and soap and announcements of cakes. Sales did not interest him. A woman with her hair on rollers, wearing a muumuu and rubber-thong sandals, herded 3 children and a tired-looking mongrel across the parking lot. The tallest, a girl barely old enough to read, shrieked, Mommy, look, a kitten sale! I want one, shouted her younger brother and sister. Debbie and George exchanged a look. The dog, sensing a long argument, lay down in front of the market door where customers had to step over him. Panting used up all of his energy, and he had none left with which to investigate kittens. I want that one with white feet, said the boy, who was wearing new swimming trunks. I saw him first. The younger girl shoved her brother. Cut it out, you two, ordered the mother, guiding her brood across the traffic lane. Not Socks, please, not Socks. There was desperation in Debbie's whisper. Socks could feel thumping beneath her t-shirt as she held him closer. They're the kind that will squeeze him and forget to give him water, I can tell. George did not answer, but he frowned as the 3 children approached. He had good reason to quarrel with his sister, but that did not mean that he approved of quarreling. The oldest of the 3 joined the squabble. I get him because I'm the oldest. You 2 can have bad dog. The dog, hearing his name, lifted his head, decided nothing of importance was happening, and dropped it again. The younger girl, who was wearing her sister's outgrown shorts and blouse, objected. And here's a picture. You can see the mom with the children and the dog. And Debbie's trying to hide Socks. And George is holding on. Just because you're oldest, you think you can have everything. No fair, shouted the boy. Bad dog belongs to all of us. Debbie unhooked the kitten's claws from her t-shirt and tried to hide him behind her back. Socks struggled. Until this morning, Debbie had always been careful to support his feet when she held him, and she had never squeezed before. I want that one with the white feet that the girl is hiding, said the older girl. Me too, me too. The boy jumped up and down, clutched his swimming trunks, watched his mother, which his mother had bought him to grow into. I know, the younger sister had found a solution. Mommy can buy us each a kitten. That's what you think, said the weary mother. One is plenty. We'll take the one with the white feet. Socks had almost wiggled free when a second pair of hands seized him. He felt himself being lifted. Metal creaked. The hands thrust him into darkness, and he found himself falling. He landed on something smooth in a dark, stifling place. Above, he heard a creak and a clang. Outside, he heard shouting and the sound of Debbie's bursting into tears. The strangest things had happened to Socks that morning. He mailed him, cried the small boy. That big boy mailed the kitten I wanted. The one I wanted, contradicted his big sister. Cut it out, you kids, said the mother. The little sister shrieked, Mommy, he hit me. Now she had her brother in the wrong. Socks slipped and slid on the letters that crackled beneath his paws as he explored the dark mailbox. The place was sweltering. That means really, really hot. But it was free from other kittens. For the first time in 7 weeks of life, Socks had found a place where no one could step on his face or bite his tail. He lay down on the letters to catch up on the rest he had missed that morning. Outside, the commotion continued. I'm fed up with you kids fighting all the time, said the mother. Just for that, we won't buy a kitten at all. All 3 children protested. No fair. You said you'd buy us a kitten. You promised. Please, Mommy, just one. We won't fight anymore, honest. Come along, said the mother, relieved to have an excuse for leaving the kitten behind. I'll buy you popsicles. I need a kitten like a hole in the head. This decision was followed by shouts of, I want lime. I want grape. I don't want a popsicle. I want a Slurpee. Socks was discovering that the heat inside the mailbox made sleep impossible. The chute at the top opened. Socks, are you all right down there? Socks recognized the cheerful voice as Debbie's, even though it sounded loud and hollow. Then she demanded of her brother, How are we going to get him out? He'll roast if we leave him in there. He'll starve. He'll die. She tried to cool the box by opening and closing the creaky chute. You didn't want a bunch of fighting kids to get him, did you? Asked George. You want him to go to a good home, don't you? How can we sell him when he's in the mailbox? Asked Debbie. Nobody can see him. Look, said George. It says on the box that the mail will be picked up at 11:23 a.m. The clock in the market says 11:15. All we have to do is wait for the mailman to unlock the box, and we'll get Socks back. There was a loud sniff outside the mailbox. Are you sure the mailman will give him back? Hope and respect for her brother had replaced fear and anger in Debbie's voice. Sure, I'm sure, said George. The post office doesn't want kittens any more than anyone else. I hope nobody wants to mail a package before 11:23. It might hit Socks. The tears were gone from Debbie's voice. Nice fresh kittens for sale, she called out as she tried to fan air into the mailbox. Socks stretched out panting, puzzled by all that had happened. A letter falling from above was only another puzzlement, but the heat forced him to mew in distress. Hang on, Socks, Debbie's voice echoed down the chute. Help is coming. At precisely 23 minutes after 11, as he lay gasping on the letters, Socks was frightened by the sounds of keys rattling against metal. Before he could move, the side of the box dropped down and he lay blinking in the glare of the sun before an audience of shoppers. Well, how about that? Said the driver of the mail truck when he saw the kitten. Socks! Cried Debbie, rescuing her kitten from the letters. Don't you know it's a federal offense to tamper with the United States mails? Asked the driver as he scooped mail into his sack. Debbie looked so alarmed that he said, Relax. I'm only joking. A kitten doesn't count as mail, unless he has stamps stuck on him. And even then, I'm not sure. The scene attracted more shoppers. A young couple pushing a cart of groceries toward the parking lot, paused to watch what was going on. Debbie, trusting their appearance, held Socks up for their inspection. "This is Socks," she said. "We named him Socks because he looks like he's wearing white socks." "He's the smartest kitten in the bunch," said George, his voice brimming with hope. If they sold one kitten, they could sell more, and he would be free to go to the library. So, and there's the picture of Socks' white feet. See, it looks like he's wearing a pair of socks. Okay, and we're going to stop there.